Alright, so if I was any younger than I am now, I probably would not have paid any attention to this movie. But now that I'm in college and I'm taking up a fine arts course, like whenever I see something that, puts importance in art, I'm thinking like, oh god, I have to watch this. It's like I'm obliged to watch things that champion art, so this is my curse. So The Monuments Men is written and directed by George Clooney and was also co-written by Grant Heslov and stars a whole bunch of people, which includes George Clooney himself, Matt Damon, John Goodman, Jean Dujardin, Bill Murray is in this, Bob Balaban, Hugh Bonneville, and Kate Blanchett. And The Monuments Men is a true story about this squad of like museum people, curators and stuff, pretty older people, and they're sent into World War II to try and reclaim art that Hitler stole. Now, I had been keeping tabs on this movie for a really long time. I think I remember like January last year when I looked at the Wikipedia page that, had, upcoming 2013 movies. And I saw this the slated for a December release. And I was really excited because, I was into the whole premise. But then it was pushed to February. And, that's usually a bad sign. And eventually the movie did come out and I heard, disappointing things about it. And I went to watch it and yes, it was disappointing. I mean, seriously, how do you go wrong with a director like Clooney with this huge cast? I guess we're living in bizarro world. The Lego Movie is awesome, and the Monuments Men is eh. But anyway, since you have a bunch of A-listers, especially with Clooney at the helm, one thing's for certain: this movie is not flat out bad. It's just pretty boring. It's very dull. But at the same time, again, because you have Clooney at the helm, this movie really, really looks good. The cinematography is by Phelan Papa Michael, who was the cinematographer for Nebraska, which I recently just, said it should win the Oscar for Best Cinematography. Production design also is really, really good. I mean, it's a World War II film, yes, and we've seen that before. However, this is like this is like late in the era. So there's definitely not as much blood in this movie, but at the same time, it's interesting to see these locales that you're familiar with, like D-Day and all that, and all these Nazi castles, and see them, kind of empty and stuff. And that's, I think, pretty interesting. And they did replicate the era well. The acting is also good from everyone, although they really pretty much just play themselves in this movie, and it does feel like George Clooney's inner circle of friends. He just kind of got them together, and they had some free time, so hey, let's make a movie. But really, they are all good. I mean, props especially to Bill Murray, who is surprisingly, a good dramatic actor, and also to John Goodman and Jean Dujardin, who I thought, had the best parts. They had really, really good chemistry. And Kate Blanchett also is like the best of the bunch, definitely here, because, she has a German accent, and she has the most interesting character out of all of them. She has the most fleshed out backstory. However, this movie really does suffer because, at least for one thing, the editing in this movie is just super scattered. It's unbelievable. Because when this group of people get to Nazi territory, they split paths. Like they have individual objectives to do, and it's just like there's no equal weight among any of them. Like it just kind of jumps from scene to scene, and you have absolutely no idea what's happening at a certain point. Like at a certain point, you forget that they're here to reclaim art because for a long time that doesn't happen, or they don't even talk about it. And part of that's also I think the fault of George Clooney as a director. Again, it's super messy, and you can really tell that George Clooney is going for a comedy drama thing, but there's just way too much comedy here, and the comedy here doesn't even hit that much. It really feels like a bunch of in jokes. And this baffles me because this movie does have a couple of very, very good dramatic moments that had that kind of weight that you'd want to see in a war movie. And the movie does almost end up exploring that whole dynamic of older people who care more about art inside this big global war, but then he never delves into those deep themes. And all those people saying George Clooney's all smug and stuff, this movie is just pretty much going to reinforce that fact, the fact that the movie does feel pretty self-important. I had a big problem with the characters also. Like, everyone has really good chemistry with each other. It does feel like a team, but you don't know anybody in it. And if Clooney was trying to get away with the whole no, but the character is the team as a collective, that doesn't work. We still have to know every single person for it to feel like if you want the team to feel like a character, we have to know the individual people in it. You can't just show us this team. It's kind of like Ocean's 11, and again with the whole in jokey feel. The dialogue is like it's less witty than it thinks it is, really. Like the exchanges between the characters are always so one liner, and it's just for once I just kind of want it to be a normal conversation. And then at certain points, Clooney does this voiceover, and it's just so expository, and it's just so cheesy, and it really doesn't work. He doesn't earn that. And again, the plot itself, while it's extremely interesting, and when they actually start doing the art stuff, it is very engaging. Again, it's a bit too comedic, it's too self-important, and it diverts from the main plot way too much. So all in all, unfortunately, the Monuments Men really is a disappointing film. I mean, it's production values wise, again, it is very, very impressive. The acting is good, the cinematography is really good, the music is good at parts, except sometimes it gets a bit too comical again. But the whole thing really is weighed down by, I think, Clooney was a bit too confident in this picture, and really, I'm sure he put effort into it. It's just that his vision for it was just a bit too scattered. Like, he really needed to focus on this. So unfortunately, it's not that good. Alright, so that is my review of The Monuments Men. Have you guys seen this movie? If you have, what did you guys think of it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Whatever you think, please leave me a comment and let's have a conversation.